Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where we can't wait for the draft next week so we can finally see some fresh matchups.
Like Cesaro and Nakamura versus the Lucha House Party?
Or Matt Riddle and King Corbin. Because that's what
Lovely.
we got tonight.
That's it. It's Friday night, Mago, and you know what that means. It's the big dog, the tribal chief, opening up the show. But hey, let's open up our show. I'm Jazz.
I'm Johnny. What a
And
segue that
we
was.
are the Wrestling Experience. So as I was mentioning, Roman Reigns opens the show. Paul Heyman, he gets on the mic and he says that he's a bit nervous because he has known Roman for his entire life, basically, since the day he was born, since he's been close with his family. And he looked forward to this moment because it was destined to happen. And then Roman kind of cuts him off and he's like, listen, I don't need you to acknowledge me as your tribal chief because he didn't acknowledge him. And basically we kind of get to Clash of Champions when Jimmy Uso had to throw in the towel because Jey Uso didn't want to acknowledge Roman Reigns as the tribal chief, and Roman Reigns actually invites Jey Uso to the ring. And
and he comes out right away. And basically, Jay's upset because Roman showed his true colors at the pay-per-view. And Roman is actually a good guy, apparently, because he did this for Jay. He did this for his family to elevate him to main event status, and he just wanted to be acknowledged as a tribal chief. A small request in return for this big promotion that he gave Jay, and he is not happy about what he did. He hated what he did.
Well, I do have to say though that the promo from both Jay and Roman were like it was really really good. Like I like the fact that Jay was like, I don't even recognize you, I don't even know you. You're supposed to be my blood, you're supposed to be my family. But at Clash of Champions you showed your true colors, but so did I, because I came this close to actually taking your title away from you. And I really like the line of like Roman Reigns where it's like, I wanted to elevate you so you can feed your wife and your kids. And I was like, oof, it's kind of a low blow,
it hurt.
Roman.
It stings. He's trying to be nice, but it's not working. He says that this is his birthright, and he's supposed to be the tribal chief and the champion. And he's actually insulted that Jay doesn't look him in the eye when he's talking to him, pouring his heart out. He says, you're too busy looking at the title on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you want another shot, we can do this again. We can do this at Hell in a Cell, but it's going to be the biggest match of all time.
The highest stakes. So we don't know what it is. Stakes.
Maybe it's a Hell in a Cell match, given the name of the pay-per-view. I'm not sure. But then he hugs Jay. Mm-hmm. It was a bit of an awkward hug, and then he walks away, dropping the mic. His music hits, but he doesn't quite make it backstage before Jake just basically says, "You're on. Whatever stakes, I'm ready."
Yeah.
And I had a weird thought to myself. I'm like, imagine if it wasn't Jay and it was Jimmy all along in the ring, and nobody knew.
They're going to do some twin magic.
I wrote that down. They're going to be some twin. If they're not doing twin magic, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to jump into AJ Styles, who comes out and he starts ribbing on Jey Uso. So Jey Uso is still in the ring, and AJ Styles is like, who cares who's at the head of the table? Who cares who has the most chicken bones?
That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. He's like,
he also talked about sacrificing a goat or whatever strange rituals the Samoans do.
And he basically talks about how he's like, I don't want you to take another beating like you did on Sunday. So maybe someone like me should have an opportunity to face Roman Reigns for that championship. And, you can go on living like a runt.
He says he's more qualified given he's a former champion.
Exactly. And basically he calls him a little runt, and Jey Uso starts beating him up, and he launches himself towards the outside. We come back from the break and we get AJ Styles versus Jey Uso. And AJ is basically trash talking the whole time. And he actually gives him a couple of right hands and a chop before Jey Uso actually fights back with a flying headbutt. And again, I thought the match was really solid. AJ Styles was in full control, and the match was basically firing on all cylinders. And we kind of get the typical, face kind of fighting back and gaining some momentum. And Styles goes for the phenomenal forearm towards the end, but Uso reverses, hits him with 2 super kicks, and he ends the match with the Uso splash. So huge win for Jey Uso against AJ Styles.
So I found it funny that there was no commercial when Roman Reigns left and AJ Styles came out, which I thought was like, wow, that's unexpected. We're just going straight into the action. But then there was a commercial immediately in the match that kind of ruined it for me. But otherwise, it was a good match. It was a bit slow at the beginning, but I did enjoy how Jey Uso was able to rally, and how commentary was like, he's not 100% focused because he's thinking about Roman Reigns. And then he gets fired up and he's able to win with some nice super kicks and of course the eventual splash. So yeah, overall good. A little bit annoying because there's a commercial in the middle that breaks it up, but otherwise strong opener.
I like the fact that you mentioned the commercials because it's true. Like whenever we watch the shows live, I feel like the commercials really take away from the action, and that pretty much happened with the main event as well. But we'll kind of get to that. Up next,
it happens a lot.
Yeah, up next we are graced with John Morrison presence, but like what happened? Because he's facing Otis, and Otis kind of has like a little video thing before the match, and he talks about being a blue collar guy and how he's going to be representing himself in court next week. So I guess this is still going on, and basically at one point,
he's come up with.
Yeah, and at one point Michael Cole made the joke of Johnny Drip Drip being dried up, and I was like, I can't handle this right now. This is just too much, you know, and. While that was going on, Otis easily manhandles John Morrison and he hits him with a top rope splash, and I was like, that's it? Like they just jobbed out John Morrison.
This wasn't a match. It was weird. Like, I mean, Morrison started off with the advantage because he was using his speed and quickness to do cheap shots, and he was taunting Otis. But then Otis just like knocked him out and then proceeded to do all of his signature moves. And then I'm like, did I wrote down, did John Morrison just job to Otis? Was that a squash match? I'm not sure.
It's like,
I think it was.
Who did John Morrison piss off to kind of get this deal? Like, what is this? It was
very disappointing. But I just wanted to bring up one other thing. Before this happened, there was a backstage promo with Sami Zayn that you forgot to mention that I think is pretty important because it was an awesome promo.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about Sami Zayn. Like, I'm really, really disappointed at myself.
You should be. He basically is holding both his titles, and he says he's not going to gloat, but by saying he's not going to gloat, he kind of talks about the things he would gloat about, so he kind of does gloat, and he feels resentment and anger for what he had to go through to basically return to the status quo, which is him being the IC champion. And he says he should be mad at management, but in fact he thinks it's better to be mad at the universe, who basically just accepted AJ Styles as the new champion and then Jeff and did nothing.
He's mad at us, he's mad at you,
and then us specifically. We just and I want you to know, Sammy, I did not accept this at all. I was not happy about it at all. And then he does the right thing, because it's up to him to do the right thing, which is basically he trashes the replica, the fake one that AJ and Jeff had, and keeps his original one and goes about his business.
Because that title was fraudulent to begin with.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I just wanted to bring that back up because I feel like it's an important part of the main event where he comes out with just one title.
Oh, yeah, of course. I just kind of like skipped over my notes and I was like, oh, wait, that totally happened. You're right. And I'm sorry, it's just because I
down too fast.
I was just too in shock at what Michael Cole said about this whole Johnny Drip Drip thing that I was just kind of like, let's just get this segment over with, and I completely forgot that Sami Zayn happened. I'm really sorry about that, Sami Zayn. You know how much I love you. You know how much the Wrestling Experience loves Sami Zayn. So
yeah, the Johnny Drip Drip can be distracting. I agree.
Yeah, and before we get our next match, which I'm not even going to call it a match, we do see the boss, Sasha Banks. She's backstage. She still has her neck brace on, and we're going to be hearing from her later tonight. But let's jump to Sheamus versus Shorty G. And before the match, we get a video of Big E challenging Sheamus next week to a Falls Count Anywhere match. But man, again? To one broke kick, two broke kick, and the match ends that way. And I'm like, we get two squash matches in a row.
Shorty G did hit a suplex for what it's worth, and
sure.
I think that Big E's promo before the match was longer than the actual match. I think the commercial I saw before the match was longer than the actual match. So double squashes to end the first hour. I think we're almost at 9 o'clock here. It was kind of like whatever.
Yeah, just a very odd way to kind of start the show. And we're going to jump backstage. Kevin Owens, he's going over some notes for the KO show, which is coming up next. And the TV behind him changes to the Firefly Funhouse, and we see the Fiend. So clearly you knew that there was going to be some shenanigans during this segment, right?
Oh, yes. And that's the segment that comes right after the commercial, because commercials are a big thing with this. So KO is in the ring to talk about his KO show. He mentions that he could be drafted to SmackDown, so he took the offer to be on the Kevin Owens show and have it on SmackDown because it might be his new home.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of questions for Alexa Bliss, who he invites to the ring. She comes down. And Kevin Owens, I actually like what he does here. He kind of says that he notices that there's something up with Alexa, and he's kind of using it to get knowledge about how Aleister Black is.
Yeah.
Maybe he can relate the two because he's also dealing with Aleister Black, who's going through some dark things. So it's kind of smart how they did that.
Yeah, like some
Alexa Bliss is
story
kind of like in the
continuation.
Yeah,
But
some continuity here.
And I do have to say one thing about Alexa Bliss. Extremely well acted. She has such a creepy yet calming smile. Like, I don't know if there's another way for me to describe it. But again, it's so weird to put creepy and calming in the same sentence. But that's what it really felt like to me. Again, just
uneasy.
Incredibly acted. Yeah, exactly. You're right. Very, very unsettling. And Alexa kind of is playing clueless. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, what anger? She's like, people change, Kevin. You should try it sometimes. And she's like, don't you want to change for the better? And this is where Kevin Owens, as you mentioned, says like, yeah, actually, I've tried to change. I've tried to be better and do things the right way. But tonight it's not about me. It's actually about how you're changing. And I noticed that the darkness is taking over you. And he's like, yeah. And as you were mentioning, because I can understand what's happening to you, I can kind of understand what's going on with Aleister Black as well. And this is where Alexa Bliss mentions him. And she's like, well, you don't know, how it is when he's around me. Or, it's very terrifying and captivating at the same time. And her eyes were so like kind of astray, or like she was in a trance. And I was like, man, Alexa Bliss is killing it. Yeah, it's a glazed look, exactly. And, she's like, when he looks into your eyes, you just can't look away. Your spine tingles. It feels like pins and needles. And
so romantic.
Very, very romantic. And Kevin's like,
very romantic stuff. Yeah. Riveting.
And Kevin's like, you know what? I'm not going to get any answers from you because you're clearly brainwashed. And she's like, yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. My brain has been washed. It's been cleansed by him.
That was an interesting line. But no, it was effective, but it was I guess, a weird choice of words. And basically, Kevin Owens is very smart because he's like, so he's nearby, isn't he? And he's like, and she's like, yeah, he's nearby. Let him in. And then the lights flicker. They turn off. The Fiend shows up. We hear that screeching. Everything's red. And he's got Kevin Owens in the mandible claw. Takes him out. And then Alexa's just sitting in the chair the whole time.
Yeah.
I guess amused by this. And he offers his hand to her. And he picks her up. And yeah, that was some creepy stuff.
Yeah, it was.
She loves it. She's smiling. He's smiling.
Yeah.
And that's it.
How do you know he's smiling, man? He's wearing a mask.
The mask is smiling, so I assume he is.
It's true.
Like, duh.
I was gonna ask you, like, what do you think of this whole storyline? Where do you think they're going to be going with Alexa Bliss and the Fiend?
I'm not sure. I guess they're not going to be split up. I don't think she'll go to Raw and he'll stay on SmackDown. I don't think they'll both move. So I guess that she might just go on a heel rampage, and her first victim would be Nikki Cross. I guess would be my guess. And maybe she'll take the title off Sasha, who takes it off Bayley eventually.
Because I remember at first we were talking about how this could have been a face turn for The Fiend, but this doesn't look like a face turn to me, does it?
Yeah, that was initially something that could have been a thing, but clearly when Braun Strowman and him were flip-flopping, it seemed like the direction it was going in, but now it doesn't seem like that at all. Yeah. You're right. It's completely like, it's a full-on heel turn. And we do find out later that this is going to be a match next week on SmackDown. Kevin Owens versus The Fiend.
Really exciting. But we're going to jump to our 6-man tag match playa. We have King Corbin, Cesaro, and Nakamura versus Matt Riddle, Lindsay Dorado, and Gran Metalik. Before the match, the faces are interviewed by Kayla Braxton, who's kind of wondering how this team kind of came about. And
it's a pretty hilarious story, not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, do you want to tell the story?
Well, bro, Matt Riddle was really down about his loss last week to Baron Corbin, bro. So basically, apparently he ran into the Lucha House Party and they cheered him up. Mm-hmm. And now they're friends. And he's like, well, I better team up with my friends because they might be drafted. And Kalisto's nowhere to be found here. And they ask, and the interviewer asks, I think it's Kayla, she asks Lindsay where he is. And he's like, he probably can't get his mask on because his head's too big. And he's not having fun. He's just stuck in the locker room. So the 2 Lucha Bros and the original bro are going to go out for this tag match.
Yeah, and
I find it interesting that the entrances of the competitors for this match were longer than the Shorty G versus Sheamus match and the Otis versus Morrison match. I think the only thing Morrison got was a full entrance in slow motion. That was about the only thing he got. But yeah, you were going to talk about the match, which doesn't really get much going until there's a commercial. But
yeah, pretty much. I was just going to say that, again, like, Shinsuke Nakamura starts the match, and he's really vicious at the beginning. He's hitting a bunch of knee strikes on Lince Dorado. And then Kalisto comes out, all suited up, looking like $1 million. I had to say it. I had to say my...
Yeah, he's like, you guys forgot me.
And
you guys forgot me.
Yeah,
I was
very
laughing
sad. He's very sad. And back from the break, the heels are just decimating Grand Metalik. Metalik does fight back. Yeah, he's healing. Yeah, basically. And he gets a hot tag from Matt Riddle, and this is where the match picks up. Riddle is basically beating everyone down, hitting a sliding kick, hitting a bro down. And then all hell breaks loose. We see Metalik kind of jumping on the outside with a splash. And then Kalisto accidentally, he kind of gets to the ropes and he accidentally kicks his teammates, Lince Dorado. That causes Cesaro to be distracted, however, which in turn gets caught with a bro derrick on, from Matt Riddle, and that's how Matt Riddle wins.
Yeah, it was strange. Like, he wanted Lince to throw Cesaro into the rope so he can kick him, but Cesaro was able to reverse that and send Lince into the kick, but was somehow still distracted and then got taken out by Riddle. It was good. It was cool. It was a good way to show another, like, I guess, thread of the Lucha House Party unraveling, but like just a bit weird in the execution. And after the match, they're still arguing, and Matt Riddle's trying to break them up, but it doesn't look good.
Yeah, Matt Riddle's like, bro, come on, man. I thought we were gonna get Lucha lit after.
Yeah, they were gonna get Lucha lit. It's true. That's what Lince said before the match. That is a good thing that I forgot to mention. That was a very specific line that I think was worth mentioning. That's my bad.
I got you, bro. So now we finally know who the mystery woman is, and it's Carmella, as we've been saying for the past month or so. She talks about how she's, done playing by our rules. She's kind of done being the dancer, because look where that got her. Absolutely nowhere. But you know what? She looked herself in the mirror. She's like, I'm Carmella, and I'm better than each and every one of us. And I'm like, sure, that's true. She is, right? So she's Carmella. And she's not our princess anymore. And this time around, she's untouchable. Yeah, she's untouchable now. So
I don't know, though. To me, she felt kind of over when she was with R-Truth, but that's just, I guess, my opinion. And she also kind of scared me. I don't know. She looked a little different. Her makeup, like it scared me.
Yeah, she was definitely glammed up, I would say.
A little bit too much. But hey, that's just my opinion.
What's interesting is that she does mention, she's like, whether it's Raw or SmackDown. So it kind of maybe plants to see that she might be changing the,
that is a good point. Imagine being hyped up on SmackDown only to just be drafted to Raw.
That would be hilarious. Wow. Yeah. So back in the ring, we're with Sasha Banks. She's looking angry, and I thought it was a pretty decent promo from Sasha Banks. Basically, she says that how could you think that me not being medically cleared, was gonna stop me from beating you down at Clash of Champions? She's like, I thought that you would have learned, a thing or two from me, like having a backbone. And, she calls her a coward, and that without Sasha Banks, Bayley wouldn't be the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion in history. And in a surprise fashion, I don't know if you were expecting this, she challenges Bayley to a match next week.
I didn't expect the match to be next week. She also pulled off her neck brace to show that she's not as injured as she might have seemed. And I thought that you were going to comment on the fact that she might have looked like $1 million too, because I thought she did.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to overdo it. Like, I already said that Kalisto looked like $1 million. I didn't want to say that everyone looks like $1 million,
That's true, but I think you wasted it on Kalisto there.
I know, maybe. I know. I'm sorry.
But yeah, this match is going to be cool. I mean, it's a bit early. I thought it would hit Hell in a Cell, but hey, I'm sure there'll be some shenanigans or some drafts, or maybe the winner will be drafted or some weird thing, and then they'll flip-flop the titles. I don't know. Well, probably not.
She did call her
nice to think about.
She did call her a B at the end. I don't know if we can say the word, so I'm just gonna say the B word.
Yeah, she doesn't stand a chance. The B doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah. So we are going to jump to our main event: Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy for the IC title. I thought this match was really, really, really good, but unfortunately, it was riddled with some commercials that came in weird places. And no, not Matt Riddle, but you can say riddled. You can say that something was riddled by commercials.
Riddle me this, Batman.
Well, there you go. So I don't know. Yeah. Again, like, hands down the best match of the show. And they also mentioned the fact that this could be Jeff's last opportunity as he may be drafted to Raw, which I think, in my opinion, once we're going to be doing the draft video, I'm going to be selecting Jeff Hardy to Raw. But again, like I thought,
whoa, spoilers, man.
Spoilers.
I'm gonna be selecting Jeff Hardy to go to Raw.
All right. But again, so we got a pretty brutal match from both of them. Obviously, both of them were still kind of nursing their rib injury, and that kind of showed in the match as well. I remember there was a spot where Sami kind of crashed Jeff Hardy into the barricade. We even got to see like a top rope suplex as well. And again, every single time that they were hitting these big moves, they were selling that injury. And I thought that, again, like the match actually told a really, really good story. And then, I don't know if you saw, but the turnbuckle was exposed. I don't know if Sami had done that or if it was done. I don't know what happened. Did you see that? Like, maybe I missed it.
Well, here's the thing. I think you were supposed to miss it because it was just all of a sudden the camera just points to it and says, "Oh, it's exposed," but nobody ever took it out. And then we find out later after the commercial. So thanks, commercial, for coming back and recapping us. Basically, that Sami Zayn had removed it.
Okay, all right.
And then because he was leaning in the corner when he was being announced before the match started, you never saw it. And I guess the camera did a good job of not pointing your attention to it until it happened. And then that obviously plays a role into the finish of the match.
Yeah, of
course. The second half of the match, which is in the post-commercial, is the more action-packed one, I would say. And to go on what you said earlier about nursing their injuries from the previous night. Yeah, Sami Zayn had the tape, which was the main focus of Jeff Hardy attacking the ribs. I think Zayn did the same thing because before the commercial, Jeff tried to dive into Sami Zayn on the barricade, but ended up getting tossed over it, completely missed. So that was a factor for Jeff's back injury. And Jeff's always taking a beating at this point, post-commercial. And yeah, you were going to say something?
Well, I have a question for you. So the moment that Sami Zayn hit the exploder suplex onto the turnbuckle and you started glancing at the exposed turnbuckle, did you at one point think to yourself, oh my god, this match is in the main event and it seems that Sami might be losing the title tonight? Did you get that feeling? Because I was really afraid at that point. The moment that I saw the exploder suplex and then Sami kind of looking at the exposed turnbuckle, I'm like, oh my god, they're telling the story of Sami being kind of screwed over by this, right?
Yes, I did have that feeling, but thankfully that's not what happened. It's not what I wanted to see, and I'm glad it didn't happen. But it was very telegraphed because there was a sequence where Jeff goes for the swanton and misses because Sami gets the knees up, and Jeff somehow rolls to the opposite corner, which is the one that has the exposed one, into the perfect hell of a kick position. And part of me thought at that point, I'm like, oh my god, if he misses, this is going to be terrible. Thankfully, he does miss, but he stops himself from hitting the turnbuckle, and then there's a whole little sequence, a twist of fate attempt that does not go through, and Jeff Hardy ends up climbing up that turnbuckle to hit the Whisper of the Wind, but Sami Zayn is quick and trips him, and Jeff just hits face first on the turnbuckle, the exposed turnbuckle, and is knocked out and gets pinned. And a sigh of relief.
But I have to say though,
Sami Zayn is still the Intercontinental Champion.
But that's great storytelling because that whole last 2 or 3 minutes, I was just so scared. I was like, oh my god, like reversal after reversal after reversal. Like they were really playing with our emotions. And I'm like, that's for me is a recipe of a great match. Again, like the ring psychology was there. The whole injury, selling was there as well. And we know what Sami Zayn and Jeff Hardy were about. But I thought that the storytelling of this match was actually top notch. And deservingly so, Sami Zayn wins. And I'm really happy that he gets to keep the title, man.
Absolutely. The storytelling was good. I did think that the first half before commercial was a little slow and sluggish, but I think that was part of it. They started their match at like 9:40, so they had a lot of time to fill, and it really picked up at the end when they started doing their crazy sequences. There was the Blue Thunder Bomb too, Jeff Hardy signature stuff. All of it was there. It all kind of like snowballed at the end, and that's where it all happened. So great main event.
That's our recap for SmackDown. I want your opinion, Johnny. What did you think about SmackDown this week?
Honestly, I have a more favorable opinion when I watch it not live without commercials because although it had some good matches, the end and the opener with the opening segment and a nice Kevin Owens segment in the middle, a lot of the matches besides that, like the 2 squashes and the 6-man tag, I didn't really care much for. They were fine. So overall, it was enjoyable. It was like a 7.
Yeah, you know what?
To give it on 10.
I was gonna say that my answer is like a Control C, Control V of yours. It's pretty much the same. I thought that the opener was great, the opening match was great, the main event was great, and then the Kevin Owens segment right in the middle was really good as well. I actually did enjoy the Sasha Banks promo. I really don't think that they're going to give us this match. Like, I think that something is gonna happen before this match even begins, or it's going to have some sort of like wonk finish, and they might take this to Hell in a Cell. Because I think that the match is too early. Like this title match can't happen like on a SmackDown. You know, like it needs to be on a larger scale. So I think Hell in a Cell makes more sense. But yeah, look, I thought the SmackDown was a pretty decent episode, kind of marred by these weird commercials in between. But a solid 7 all around. And let's not forget that next week is going to be the draft. And the way I see it is that there's already matches. You know, we have Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, so clearly it seems that both of them will stay on SmackDown. We probably will be getting Sasha Banks versus Bayley, so they're probably going to stay on SmackDown as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Fiend versus Kevin Owens at Hell in a Cell as well. I feel like maybe there's going to be a wonk finish and Kevin Owens going to challenge him or something. But I think that the next few weeks it might be a little bit of a slower build to Hell in a Cell, or very, very quick matches. You know what I mean? Like, because if they are doing the draft and Hell in a Cell is going to be 2 weeks right after, I feel like some of the build for some of the matches is not going to be that great.
Yeah, and that's probably why they're planting some seeds, like you're saying. But it's kind of dumb to do that because you've already kind of spoiled some of the outcome. Like, I don't like why they announced the match like that. You mentioned the Sasha Banks promo, and I forgot to mention that was a very solid promo. It was just very short. I think she only said like those 6 lines. You literally recited it perfectly.
Thank you.
And I did find that the Jey Uso rematch was a bit unexpected. I did not expect that to continue, but I'm excited to see where it goes because they really made me want Jey Uso to win at Clash of Champions. Yeah. So I want to see it again.
So that's it, guys. If you do enjoy our videos, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, hit that notify bell to find out where our content is posted. If you are listening to us in audio format, you'll find all the description below where to find us, and even on social media as well. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to see you in the next one.
So we're not supposed to share our draft picks with each other. We're supposed to keep it a secret and then present them to each other live so that we have genuine reactions to our own draft picks while we're recording.
Exactly.
That's the next level,
like draft
recording
picks,
stuff there.
Like draft picks that are probably not even gonna happen, but we're supposed to be like, oh my god, it actually happened. Like, I don't know. I just think that it'll be fun.
Okay? If I get one right, I'm happy. I'm bad at predicting these things.
Yeah,
it could be anything.
Same.
I could get drafted to Raw. You could get drafted to SmackDown. What if we're on different brands?
I'm telling you, if the Wrestling Experience makes their debut, people are going to shit on that name.
I know. It wasn't the best name. We had to change it to the Wrestling Raiders like a week later, and then we went back.
Yeah.
Because I think we did copyright infringement or something.
Something like that.